BBC One Northern Ireland, we reflect on the life and career of John Hume. The programme includes some scenes you may find upsetting and also archive footage from the 1969 documentary John Hume's Diary. And if you're watching on digital, you can see this in its entirety immediately afterwards at 11:35 by pressing your red button.
In the past 30 years of our conflict, there have been many moments of deep depression and outright horror. Many people wondered whether the words of our poet W.B. Yeats might come true. Too long a sacrifice can make a stone of the heart.
In American terms, we would think of him as a founding father. It's probably the greatest compliment that an American could convey to someone else.
Endlessly, our people gathered their strength to face another day. And they never stopped encouraging their leaders to find the courage to resolve this situation so that our children could look to the future with a smile of hope.
I never regarded John as sort of a particular party in that sense. I mean, he was kind of aside from it, or maybe even above it.
Hard to reconcile some of the narrowness of his approach to the breadth of his intellectual capacity. That and selfishness, I suppose, went hand in hand.
Il avait cette extraordinaire combinaison à la fois de l'audace, du courage, et aussi de savoir travailler utilement sans faire parler de lui, ce qui est aussi une forme de courage.
I believe this to be the best opportunity for lasting peace that I have seen in the last 20 years.
It's his desire to cast the least shadow, which makes him so great.
He's one of the outstanding people of modern times.
And I will now end with a quotation of total hope. The words of a former laureate, one of my great heroes of this century, Martin Luther King Jr. We shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome someday. Oh, deep in my heart.
While on holiday with his family in Donegal in the summer of 1987, John Hume found himself challenged by a close friend of Gerry Adams, who urged him to talk to the Sinn Féin leader. Hume was about to take the first step in what would later become known as the Northern Ireland peace process.
We had been on holidays in Gweedore, and Paddy McGraw had a summer house there, and he would have been very friendly with Gerry Adams, and I think that he was trying to get through to John that Sinn Féin was anxious to get involved in politics. That would have been the first time that I heard that kind of conversation.
Enniskillen happened when we were talking. You know, most people don't know that. I think both of us saw it as something which justified the need to talk, you know, as opposed to, oh, this is undermine what we're doing. The very purpose of our talks was to try and end all violence.
The secret talks would continue for almost 6 years, until, in the spring of 1993, Adams was spotted entering the Hume family home above Derry's Bogside. John Hume, the leader of Irish nationalism, was publicly castigated for meeting with the political pariah that was Gerry Adams.
It was helpful that John Hume was talking to Gerry Adams. It was helpful that he was doing so. On the other hand, for every action there is a reaction, and the reaction caused us some difficulties.
I had many rows with him about it. I raised it at party meetings. There were some who felt the same way as I did.
Now, I am standing here and telling the government that I believe that we have a real process of lasting peace and a total cessation of violence on the basis that I have just stated. And I'm saying to them, hurry up and deal with it.
But sort of wonder, what on earth is he doing? Because by doing this, he's blurring the distinction between their two parties. And he's blurring the moral basis on which he's engaging in politics.
There were certainly people who had a doubt about what he was doing. Was it right? Was it wrong? That was in private. In public, he was vilified.
I wanted total peace in our streets, and I knew that talking to Gerry Adams was a major way of achieving that by working with him to persuade him to adopt purely political methods. And that's why I talked to Gerry Adams.
Once it was discovered, I mean, all hell broke loose, and the media went into a frenzy. You know, he lost weight, he was finding it difficult to sleep. So the stress was just unbelievable.
In speaking with Adams, Hume had made himself a target for loyalist paramilitaries.
Senior loyalists took him as a threat, you know, a potential threat. So when he actually stood up and said he was talking to Gerry Adams, being involved with the IRA, the people who fought the fight for so long, he made himself a legitimate target.
Hume believed political progress could be made if the violence could be stopped. But in October 1993, the IRA massacred innocents on the Shankill Road. In retaliation, loyalists shot dead 8 men in a bar.
Party members ringing up and sort of saying, you know, those talks just have to stop. That particular week when Gerry Adams carried the coffin was just dreadful. The phone was going non-stop. Again, concern for John, but also just wondering, where is this all going? Greysteel, probably because it was a culmination of so many horrors. At the burial, John just broke down. We were all breaking down, but to see a man, a very strong man, breaking down. And I remember then a girl coming up to him and saying, John, the peace talks have to go on. We talked about you last night around, I think it was our father's funeral, and we said it's the one hope for the future, that the peace talks must go on.
The implication from the honourable gentleman's remarks are that we should sit down and talk with Mr Adams and the Provisional IRA. I can only say to the honourable gentleman that would turn my stomach over and that of most people in this House, and we will not do it.
But unknown to Hume, both the British and Irish governments were also speaking with the IRA.
We were already engaged in private conversations, and although one often despaired about where they would go, it was important we did that if we were going to create peace. If we hadn't had the secret channel to the IRA, if we hadn't had those talks and kept them secret, there would have been no peace process.